here's how I'm able to book 3 to 5 meetings per day with my new agency doing something called warm calling. Now, you may have heard of warm calling before. You may have never heard of warm calling before. My goal today is to show you how you can start warm calling so you can start booking in more meetings just like I'm showing you here. Okay, I'll even refresh in case some of you don't believe me. Okay, just like we have here, doing something I like to call warm calling, which is honestly, it feels like hacking. Okay, it feels like hacking. So, if you have a short attention span, I'm sorry, because this is going to be a super long video where I talk about the in-depth, what is warm calling, how does it work, what's the psychology behind it, how can you apply it, and a bunch of other things. So, I can assure you that this video will provide you a ton of value. But hey, if you're not around for that, see you later. Have a great day. I still love you. You're the best, but I wish you the best, okay? But if you're here for some value, I promise you that you will get that, so sit back, relax. I know this might be a bit longer one, but it'll be worth it. Just to show you our cold DM sheet, we're booking, 4-1-1. We didn't do anything these days. 5-1-1-1. About 3 to 5-ish meetings a day, and then obviously including other acquisition channels. This is just one end-of-day report. There's obviously more meetings, as I showed you. But let's get into this. Let me actually draw this on a whiteboard to kind of visually show you what this looks like. First off, what is warm calling? Let me explain what warm calling is. Well, the best way to explain this is what is cold calling. Well, cold calling is simply when you call somebody you've never talked to before. It's a cold call. They don't know you, you don't know them, right? You're cold calling them. Now, oftentimes what happens is during a cold call, people are like, who are you? Who is this? What do you want? Hang up. There's a lot of friction. People don't like to get cold called because they're like, who is this? What do you want? Why are you trying to pitch me? Yada, yada, yada. So imagine if when you called every single one of your prospects, they already knew you. They've already talked to you. They kind of understand you. They know what you do. Imagine if you called those people. They'd probably be a lot more interested, wouldn't they? You'd probably get a lot better replies. Imagine if people have shown interest in you and then you call them. Would you get better replies or worse replies? Well, I'd argue better. And this is what warm calling allows you to do. It allows you to get prospects that already know you, that already like you, that have already shown interest. But let me explain how you can do this. Now you know the psychology behind why warm calling works. It's because you have a touch point in between the call and the cold call. I'm going to share with you how to do it. Okay? And first thing, just in case you didn't get it, let's say you have a prospect, that you want to call. Let's say you cold call them. Okay, they don't know who you are. They're confused. But let's say, for example, in between the prospect and the cold call, right here, you have something I like to call a touch point, a TP. And it is basically a touch point. It is as it sounds. You have some sort of touch point with them. Whether you talk to them at an event in person, whether you DM them, whether you email them, whatever the case may be, you have a touch point. So when you open the call, you can say, oh, hey, it's name from X. Oh, hey, it's Stefan from Facebook. Oh, hey, it's Stefan from the guy who just emailed you. Oh, hey, it's Stefan from that event we were at last weekend. Then like, oh, yes, Stefan. Boom, you get into the call. And now they know who you are, so they're keen to listen because they already know you. That is the premise of warm calling. That is how it works. That is why it works. Okay, because people hate being cold called. If you ever cold call, you know that. People hate being cold DM'd, right? And one of the hardest things for people to do is go from cold DM to booking a meeting. Instead of using cold DM as the primary acquisition channel, we couple that with warm calling. So we use cold DMs to start warm calling. I'll explain a bit more of this. That's why I said it's going to be a long one. It's going to be a valuable video, but we're going to get into a lot of stuff here. So let's get into how you warm call. So like I just showed you, let's say you have a prospect, and let's say that the end goal is to book a meeting. Okay. Well, to book a meeting, the best way to do that is to talk to them. So let's say at some point you're going to want to call them. Now, here's what happens. If you just cold call, you go straight from this to this, and then you try and go from that to that. It's more difficult than if we had something else here in between this. Imagine if we had something in here, something that went in between the prospect and cold calling and straight to booking meeting. Imagine if we had more touch points. For example, what if we send them a cold email here? And then what if after that we send them a DM? Okay? And imagine they reply to both of these. Okay, so they reply. Look, imagine this. So imagine they reply to your email, they reply to your DM, and then you call them. And you're like, oh, hey, it's just Stefan. We were chatting on email and Instagram. I thought it'd be better to give you a call. It's like, oh, yes, Stefan, what's up? Call. Do you see how it starts to get a lot easier to talk to people? And if there's one thing you should know about booking meetings, it is that, what's the point of booking a meeting? Well, we got to figure this out. It's like, why do people want meetings? Well, it's because you can communicate, okay? You can communicate. I'm not going to write the rest of this out. It's difficult. You can communicate better talking. Okay? Talking. over the phone, over Zoom. Okay, so whether this is Zoom or phone, you can communicate better because all sales is communication, right? And so we tend to share information better the more, interaction we have with each other, right? Cold emailing, it's harder to share information. Cold DM, it's harder to share information. Phone call, it's a little easier. Zoom is even easier. In person is the best because in person, right? So it's like in an ideal world, we get everybody on the Zoom call because we can share our information the best, and that way we have the highest likelihood that they will close. So, what's the point of the Zoom call? Well, we already know. We just talked. It's to communicate, to share information, and see if what we do is beneficial to them to make the sale. So let's backtrack. What comes before a meeting? Well, probably not cold DMing, not cold email. It's a call, right? It is a phone call because the phone call is like the hybrid between a text message and a Zoom call. It's like the nice in between. And so you utilize the call to book the meeting. Right, when you call people, it's so much easier to book in a meeting than it is on DMs because right then and there you can confirm a time. Hey, would it be appropriate for us to have a chat about this later this week? That way we can visually show you everything. Yeah, okay, sounds good. What does your Thursday look like? I got spots available in the afternoon. 3 work? Okay, cool. What's your email? Boom, book it and done. It's simple, right? It's a lot easier to do that over a phone call than it is over the DMs. So now that we know that our goal in outreach should be to get a phone call to book a meeting, right? Our goal is to book a meeting so we can close them. But what happens, to book a meeting, we should opt for a phone call because it's easier to book a meeting from a phone call. So let's backtrack here. Let's say, for example, right, we talked about this. Our goal is to go from cold prospect, okay, to booked meeting. Let's say here we send them a cold DM. Now, what you want to say, this is totally up to you. Let's say, for example, you say, hey, name, was scrolling through your page, really liked what you do. I help niche, whatever. Then let's say I help painters close more deals. Could I share some information on this? Right? I'm not saying this is a good pitch. I'm using it as an example. Right? So blah, 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 your text. Now, when they reply, okay, because obviously they have to reply for this to go through, you could do one of two things. Most people would do this. They would DM back. Oh yes, great. So what we do is we help blah 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 blah, and then guess what? Then they get ghosted, and it never gets anywhere. What we do instead is now we call them, and now guess what? When we call them, when they're like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Stefan. We were just talking on the DMs." They're like, "Oh, hey, Stefan." And now I share the information over a phone call right then and there so they can get all the information they need to make a decision. And if they need more information, they can let me know. And if they have an objection, they can let me know because we're talking live. And so it's so much easier to now book in the call because we're on the phone call. And so this is the premise of warm calling. This is how warm calling works. It is having a touch point in between calling them and them being a cold prospect. It is building up the familiarity. It is having some sort of rapport pre-built, right? If you message somebody, for example, right, and you see that they're in the army, and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm in the army as well. What unit were you in? They're going to reply because they're like, oh, we have familiarity. If you cold call somebody and you cold call somebody from your city and you say, hey, name, I'm from city. Are you from city? They're like, oh, yes, I'm from city. They'll be more likely to talk. You know why? Because familiarity. People hate talk. I don't want to say hate, but like people have friction talking to people they don't know. There's friction talking to strangers. They're not sure. They're uncertain. This is why, because they're uncertain. They don't know who you are. They don't know what your intentions are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the second you have some sort of familiarity, it's like, oh, okay, let's talk. Right? And so the premise of this is to get some sort of context, get some sort of familiarity, get some sort of touch point in between us, them being a cold prospect and us calling them, so that way they know who we are when we call. That way we can talk to them super easily. And this is what we've been using, right, to start my new agency that's been booking multiple meetings a day. Almost, I mean, let's look at the stats. 55% of people that pick up, out of everyone that picks up call conversion, I book in 68% of people, which means 70% of people I book in. So every 7 out of 10 calls I book in, 3 I don't. That's pretty solid. That's like, imagine for every 10 cold calls you make, you book 7 meetings. For every 10 cold calls got answered, you book 7 meetings. That'd be wild, right? That's what warm calling allows you to do. It allows you to have familiarity that way when you call them, it's super easy to book in a meeting. As you can see by the stats here, 68%, right? Like it's I'll scroll back up, right? It's like these numbers are super solid, super solid. And it's because of this concept called warm calling, having the touch point in between here. You see, what most people do when they cold DM, right, is they'll cold DM. Why do I keep doing B? Cold DM. They send maybe hook message 1, so they send M1. Then they send M2, which is the pitch, okay? And then they send M3, which is the transition. And then M4 is booking, right? So you send hook message to get them to answer, pitch message, transition message, try and get them to book, and then M4, you try and book them in. What we do is cold DM, is we send M1. If they reply good, we send M2, and then we call. So we completely eliminate these 3, or these 2, because it takes up unnecessary room that causes more friction. You see, it's like we're cheating. It's like we're jumping over this straight to the call. Because here's the thing, is with M4 and M3, you're trying to book a call, right? So what I do is I just skip over these 2 and go straight to the call myself. And I won't call them. And then I book them in to the actual Zoom meeting, right? This is the concept of warm calling. This is how warm calling works, and this is what it allows me to book so many meetings every single day. Because you make the most out of every lead, because guess what? You don't let the lead fall through the cracks because you call them. And so you make sure you talk to them. Right? Like imagine if every lead you ever got, you got to talk to. Would you have closed more or less deals? I would argue more. Right? If you had talked to every single lead that has ever come in your pipeline, you talk to them physically, one-on-one, on a call. Would you have closed more or less deals? Obviously more. And so, if that's the case, why don't we call more people? Because we got to understand, like, the point of booking a meeting is to talk to them. So why aren't we trying to talk to them? Well, that's where warm calling comes in, right? And so now let me go in a bit on what to say on the warm call. Now that you know how to do it and when to do it, like basically when you should warm call is when you get a lead, right? When you get somebody that's interested. This is when you should warm call. As soon as you get a lead, as soon as you get anybody that shows any interest, when they show any interest in you and what you do, call them. Boom, done. Call them right then and there. Okay, that is what I would do, and that's what's been working for me. Okay, evidently. Now, let's go back to this. Let me kind of explain what you say in the warm call. Because it's like, great, Stefan. I can get people to say yes. Now what? Okay, well, you're gonna call them. Okay, you're going to call your lead. And do I have recordings on this? Oh, not on this account. Okay, anyways, here's what you do. You can go watch. I've posted like 2 videos in the past giving live calls, like past couple days ago. Here's what you do: is you call them, right? Ring, 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 ring. Hello? Hey, is this name? Yeah, who is this? Oh, it's just Stefan. We were just talking. We were talking on Instagram. Oh, yes, Stefan. How are you doing? Oh, I'm doing amazing. What about yourself? Great. I'm like, listen, I got to run pretty quickly here. I don't want to waste your time. Is this a bad time to have a really quick chat? No. Okay, cool. Boom. Get into your offer. Get into your pitch. Sell them the idea of booking a meeting. Right? The point of the call is not to sell them on the phone call. A lot of people get this wrong. The point of this is not to sell them on it. It's not to sell them on the phone call. The point of the warm call is not to sell them on the phone call. That is not the point of cold DMing. That's not the point of cold calling. That's not the point of warm calling. You're not trying to sell them while you're calling them. You're not trying to do that. What you're trying to do is get them to book a meeting. You're trying to get them curious. You're trying to get them interested. You're trying to get them to basically pursue further. You're not trying to sell them. You're just trying to get them interested. So all you got to do is spark their curiosity, and from there you're just booking the meeting. And then on the meeting is when you close them. If all the stars line up, okay? So don't try and sell them on this. You just get them interested, which is why the call should be quick. The call should be max 10 minutes, ideally like 5, okay? 5-10 minutes, right? And all you're doing is just making sure, hey, is this name, yada yada, build a bit of rapport, basically pitch them your offer and make them interested in some way, shape, or form, and then you book in the meeting to chat further, to discuss further, to talk about possible options moving forward, kind of thing. Now, that is how you warm call. Now, listen, we're not done yet, okay? But that is the concept of warm calling. That is how you warm call. That is why you should warm call. That is how it works, the psychology behind it, and then what to actually do on the call itself. Now, let's chat a little further, okay, about this. Let's say you're cold DMing. DM. And then obviously the goal is to close client. So we'll say close. Now, let's talk about this. So we have points here. We have M1, this is the hook message. And let's say we have call. right? And then we want to go to booked meeting. And then it depends what you need to do in here. Maybe you have like a follow-up call. Oops. Shouldn't. No, I'm just kidding. But like, think about this. Think about this process versus cold DM to close, right? Whoops. You have M1. You have M2. You have M3. You have M4. You maybe book a meeting. Maybe. And then it's kind of like, they're not really sure. Okay, and then whatever, back to the beginning because you suck. Think about it this way. You eliminate all of these. You go straight to a call. And from the call, it's easy to book in the meeting. And the meeting actually has grounding now because they agreed to it. They're like, oh, the meeting sounds good, like a good idea because they called you and got some information. That way, when they hop on the call, they know what they're hopping on the call for. Most people, when you DM them a couple times, they're like, I don't really know what I'm hopping on the call for. So when we do this, they know what they're hopping on the call for. And that, my friends, is the premise of warm calling. That is how it works. That is why it works. That's what's been allowing me to book multiple meetings a day, is warm calling. Now, there's a couple questions I know might get asked, so I'll answer them. How do you find their phone number? Look for it. Look for it, okay? Like, seriously, I mean this, right? Like, oh, I can't find their phone number. Look in their posts. Look in their bio. Look in their captions. Look in their comments. Sometimes they share it in the comments. Look on their website. Go to their Facebook page. Go to their LinkedIn. Go scrape all their things. Find their phone number. Imagine if you can eliminate 3 days worth of messages by just calling them, by finding their phone number. Would you do it? If I told you that you could save 3 days worth of time by searching for 5 minutes for somebody's phone number, would you do it? Yes, okay, then do it. You can probably find it somewhere. LinkedIn, Facebook, go to friends' Facebook. I don't know what you gotta do. Find the phone number. Now, another question I could ask, where do I call from? I don't have a phone. Skype. That's what we're using. Skype works great. If you don't have Go level, Skype works just fine. Okay, if you don't have Go level, Skype works just fine. Literally, go make a Skype account. It's like a one-time flat rate. It's super cheap. It is amazing. It works perfectly fine. Go get Skype. Highly recommend it. That is where you can call them. Now, if you have any more questions about warm calling, okay, drop me a comment down below or join my Discord server and ask me in there. I don't have anything to sell. It's easier to communicate over Discord than it is over YouTube comments if I'm going to keep it honest with you. Anyways, this has been, if I'm not mistaken, day number 10 or 11 of Project 7 Figures, where Andreas and I are starting and scaling a new agency. And hopefully within the next coming days, with a bunch of meetings like this, we will get some money in the Stripe account. Because right now, guess what? Fat zero. That's the reality. You don't make 10K in one day. Okay, so that's just the reality. In 1 week, we didn't make 10K. What did we do? Actually, we didn't make zero in 1 week. Okay, we literally made zero in the first week. And that's just the reality. But I thought I'd share this with you all. That way you can kind of understand what we're doing to book so many meetings so you can do the same. Hope this video was valuable. If you like the longer format with the whiteboard style, let me know. Please let me know in the comments if you like this longer format with the whiteboard. If so, I'll keep doing more of these in the future. Other than that, I'll see you guys again tomorrow because I'm documenting every single day. Every single day I'm documenting my way to 7 figures with this agency. So see you guys tomorrow. Other than that, have a great day. And I'll chat with you guys soon. Peace.